Hello and welcome. Thank you so much for joining me today. Today our topic, mountains of junk. Mountains of junk. If you've been in magic for a year, 2 years, 60 years, you probably have boxes of effects that you have purchased that you're not using and you will probably never use, but you don't want to get rid of it because you spent money on it, right? I call that mountains of junk. How does it happen? How does it happen? I'm going to give you a theory. I mean, there's lots of different ways. I mean, some of us just love to buy magic tricks. You know, let's face it. We enjoy doing it. We enjoy watching the advertisement. We enjoy responding. We enjoy ordering. We enjoy waiting for that effect to come in the mail and then opening it up. It's like a miniature Christmas day, isn't it? You open that thing up and you play with it and you watch the instructional video or you read the instructions and you play with it some more. You know, a lot of times, I'll tell you what I like to do. I get an effect and I watch the instructional video or I read the instruction story. I get to know the effect that way. And then I'll carry that thing with me. And if I'm watching a television show, I'll be practicing that effect. And I'll just be kind of playing with it. And a lot of times a different handling will present itself to me, or a different presentation. And over a period of time, that thing will slowly begin to take on a life of its own. And that's how things become part of my repertoire. But a lot of times I'll get something in the mail and I'll look at it, I'll read the instructions, I'll watch the video, and something just isn't right. Yeah, for example, maybe something that was advertised, you see it done in a street setting. So naturally you assume that it can be done surrounded, but you get the effect in the mail and no, there's no way that can be done surrounded. So how exactly did they present it that way? Because clearly the angles weren't there. So that's, you know, magic has a problem with advertising, in truth in advertising. Let's face it. I'm going to read you some quotes. But before I get to that, here's a possible theory. And this doesn't apply to everyone. This certainly doesn't apply to everyone. And I don't mean to make it so, but here it is. A lot of what motivates us to spend money on magic, or anything else for that matter, is personal insecurity. We spend money to get a certain feeling. We spend money to alleviate an anxiety. I mean, I don't do this much anymore. I've really become comfortable with my material. I've become comfortable with who I am as a performer. So I tend to do this much less. I still catch myself doing it if I have a new show, if I have a new audience to perform for, something I've never done before. I can fall back into this habit. But here's what happens. You get an opportunity, and you look at your repertoire, and you say, oh, this just isn't, it's just not up to snuff, right? It's just not up to snuff. So you look for something that you think is in the miracle class that can put it over the top, and you spend money and you find out that the miracle you were promised isn't the miracle you got. So in effect, you've wasted your money, and you end up doing your tried and true stuff anyway, and the people love it. Now, if you do that enough times and find out that the people love your tried and true material, you won't spend that money the next time. But I do think that there's a sense of insecurity that it comes from a lack of self-esteem. It comes from a sense that our stuff, that what we have to give just isn't good enough. It just doesn't measure up. And I really think that if we spent more time on our routines, more time on our presentation, more time practicing and rehearsing, we would do ourselves a greater favor than buying a new prop or a new piece, new trick, or a new material. Now, Here's a Jeff McBride quote. You know, I'm a huge fan of Jeff McBride. And here's a Jeff McBride quote. Magic is not about being seduced by the advertising, but being able to see through the hype. The best defense to getting suckered by magic ads is to be informed, to develop a resistance to impulse buying. I'm going to come back to that in a minute. But what Jeff is saying is, you know, be well read, be educated, be well informed. You know, you should be able to look at a description, however false that description is. And believe me, I hate to put it in these terms, but a lot of advertising is just plain false, okay? It doesn't do what it purports to do. But you should be able to look at that and analyze it and try to decide what's the modus operandi. How would I do it? And I'm going to get back to that in a second. I want to share with you a Eugene Burger quote. And I think he was quoting someone else. I can't remember who. But it's I think it's fine to ascribe it to Eugene because he did some work on it. The most deceptive part of the new magic routine is the advertisement. The most deceptive part of the new magic trick is the advertisement. Magic dealers are selling dreams, not reality. Magic dealers are selling dreams, not reality. For many magic dealers, and I think this probably applies more to the online dealer than it does to the brick and mortar. Now, we are losing our brick and mortar shops. They're just dropping like, they're disappearing from the landscape. And there's a reason why they shouldn't. And I'm going to share that with you in a moment. But if you're selling online, it's a lot easier to exaggerate than if you're selling to an in-person individual who may be walking back into your shop. You know, if you're a shop owner, a brick and mortar shop owner, and you want that customer to come back, you're probably going to try to sell the customer what is good for the customer, rather than the latest gimmick that you want to make an extra buck on. Because if that person goes home and is disappointed in what you have sold them, they might not return to do business with you again. This ought to be true of online dealers as well, but not so much. Not so much. So here are three takeaways. 3 takeaways. Number 1, use the wish list feature of your favorite magic dealer. Don't click on the email. Watch the super hyped up advertisement video that's got the music and the flashing and the quotes from the great magicians and the looks of astonishment of the spectators. By the way, when you're watching one of those advertisements, one of those videos, and you don't see the whole routine, that's a red flag, folks. That's a red flag. If all you're seeing is audience reaction and hyped up quotes, and that's it, forget it. Forget it. It is probably completely false. So use the wish list feature. This will keep you from impulse buying. You see that thing advertised, you're just overwhelmed. You think, oh man, I could really use that. Put it on the wish list and wait. And see what happens to your, and let it marinate in your mind for a bit. If you come back to the wish list a week later, 10 days later, 2 weeks later, that thing still has some appeal to you, okay, maybe then, but try not to be seduced in the moment. Use the wish list. Number 2, ask. Ask your buds at the magic club. Ask Ask your friends, ask dealers. I'm going to come back to that type of ask in a moment. But most of all, I want you to ask yourself this question. If I had to accomplish this effect, if I had to do it and I didn't have a dime to spend, how would I accomplish that effect? In other words, if I could not afford to purchase this prop or this routine or this magic trick, how would I accomplish the same thing? Ask yourself that question and let that marinate and work on that. Because you should, if you're well read enough in the magic arts, you should be able to come up with a theory. It may not be the same, it might not be the same modus operandi, but you should be able to do it. And if you're struggling, maybe what you're buying isn't correctly advertised. Okay? So that's point number 2. Point number 3, read reviews and solicit opinions. I know this is similar to ask, but what I really meant under ask is ask yourself. Let that marinate. Number 3, read the reviews. I mean, Penguin Magic. I think Vanishing does it too. I'm not sure if Alakazam does it, but a lot of online dealers have a feature where you see the ad, you see the video, you see the description, and then down at the bottom, very often there are customer reviews. Pay attention to the customer reviews, okay? Pay attention. Read the customer reviews. Now, if you get MUM, which is the Society of American Magicians magazine, if you get the Linking Ring, if you get Genie magazine, if you get any of the magical periodicals, usually in the back of the periodical there's a review section. And if it's a new trick that's being hyped up across the dealers, if it's like coming out of if it's coming out of Murphy's Magic, for example, all the dealers get the same promotional video. All of them get the same discount. And they're all promoting it at the same time. So chances are that particular item is going to be reviewed in MUM or the Linking Ring or Genie. Read the review. Read the review. Now there's an online review site that's called mylovelyassistant.com. And that site specializes in doing magic reviews. Take a look there and see if it's reviewed there. Another option for you is the magic forums. There are tons of magic forums. Join them and pose the question. Now, no one's going to tell you how it's done. But they might say, well, you know, it's not exactly the way it's advertised. Or, you know, it's this or it's that, or it can't be done surrounded, or whatever it is. And there are, by the way, they're on YouTube, there are a ton of magicians that are doing reviews. Greg Petty, for example. And many, many others that are doing reviews. You can watch their reviews, and many of them are just excellent. So take a look at their sites. Take a look at their channels and see if you can learn something from them. Finally, if you're looking for an opinion, and this is where the brick and mortar dealer comes in so strong. Denny hated to sell somebody something that wasn't going to work for them. Phil Thomas was the same way. Any dealer worth his or her salt is going to take a look at you as a performer and want to sell you magic that's going to be right for you. And they're going to steer you away from things that are going to end up mountains of junk in your drawer, in your boxes in your basement. So develop a relationship with a brick and mortar dealer and ask that dealer sincere questions. And I guarantee you that dealer is going to steer you right. So dealers are your best friends in this regard. Now, what is your best value in magic? I have said this time and time again. Denny said it over and over again. Phil Thomas said it over and over again. Books, my boy. Read books. They're your best value in magic. You're getting so much for your money. Think about it. Think about it. How much are you going to pay for that one effect? How much would you pay for a book? The book has theory, the book has descriptions, the book has multiple effects. Books. Another great value, in my opinion, are lectures. I love lectures. I learn so much from lectures. Penguin Magic is just fantastic for producing lecture material. And I think you can download a lecture for somewhere between $15 and $30 or $40, depending on who the artist is and what they're lecturing about. And you can also attend live lectures. So I think books and lectures are your two best values in magic. And I think if you stick to them, you will have less mountains of junk in your house. Thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate that you're here. I really do. Please subscribe if you've not done so already. Please comment down below. I love your comments. Have a great day, everyone.